Bowl week in Mobile. It is Pro Bowl week in Orlando, and we are now 11 days away from Super Bowl 54 in Miami. Plus, we've got a pretty big news story out of New York. Eli Manning will retire. We've got a lot of ground to cover on NFL Total Access today with Lindsey Rhodes, Willie McGinnis, and Sean O'Hara, who played with Eli for 7 years. He helped bring him into the league. Only appropriate that you are with us as he goes out 16 seasons later. The New York Giants announcing today that he will officially announce his retirement on Friday. An announcement that we will cover live here on NFL Network, and one that is sure to bring out a number of his former teammates and coaches. The press release from the Giants today loaded with affection for the quarterback. Owner John Mara saying, for 16 seasons, Eli Manning defined what it is to be a New York Giant, both on and off the field. Eli is our only two-time Super Bowl MVP and one of the very best players in our franchise's history. He represented our franchise as a consummate professional with dignity and accountability. It meant something to Eli to be the Giants quarterback, and it meant even more to us. We are beyond grateful for his contributions to our organization and look forward to celebrating his induction into the Giants Ring of Honor in the near future. So that is definitely happening. And now the 5-year clock for Canton. That conversation will begin as well. I know that you have strong feelings about that and all of this. Sean, as a close friend of Eli, was this a tough decision for him?
I think it was, because I think deep down he still feels like he can play. And I think he showed it in flashes even this year. In his last game that he started as a New York Giant was against the Miami Dolphins. It was a home win, and he kind of got the curtain call, and that was a pretty cool moment. But I know as Willie sits here right now, he can still get after the quarterback. There's days where I wake up and I still feel like I can still play. But I think for him, it was just, you know what? I've had an unbelievable career. I've won 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I've been very blessed, and I'm healthy. And I think all of those factors weighed in for him. And he said, you know what? Like, I get it. I see what's going on, and this is the right time. And the one thing that I've always appreciated about Eli is that it never mattered if he had a great game or if it wasn't a great game. He was always able to separate the on-the-field performance and football from real life. And I think he's doing just that with this announcement as well.
Do you think this had to do with the option of playing for another team and that feeling weird too? Because the Giants have obviously decided to go in a different direction. It felt like that wasn't an option anymore. Yeah,
I don't think that Eli could wholeheartedly put on another uniform. And I think that's a big factor in him not wanting to go play somewhere else. I also think where he is in his life right now, too, with 4 kids and with them in school. And it's, you know, hey, look, am I going to be selfish and try to go play another year or two to try to, you know, maybe make another run or maybe try to go do something else again with another team and displace my entire family for that? So, no, I think he's putting his family first. You know, when you're an NFL player, especially a quarterback, the family kind of gets put on the back burner because they're catering to your schedule and what you have to do. So I think in this moment, he's saying, you know what, it's been about me for the last 16 years. It's time to make it about the family.
Eli with some of his family members right there. Willie, how will you remember him as a quarterback?
Clutch. You know, some of the biggest games Eli's ever played, and he's always come through. And a lot of people who've never been that close to the game, whether you coach it or work cleats on the turf or the grass, don't understand. It's not always about the numbers, but it's about what you do in certain situations. Is if you can put your team on your back when it counts. And Eli has always been that guy. You're looking at a play right here from the Super Bowl, getting out.
Yeah, bailing us out.
Bailing us out. Yeah, should have been sacked. Like, if I was on that team, he would have been sacked. I told you that, Sean. Gets the ball up, makes an incredible play. Another Super Bowl clutch, throwing the ball down the field in double coverage to Manningham. Just in the biggest situations, he's, like you say, he's consistently the same guy. His expressions never changed. It just seemed like he was always poised. He was always calm, handled everything the same, never got too high, never got too low, just same kind of even keel. And I think you can respect that about a guy who's won a lot of football games in the biggest moments in one of the biggest markets. To be able to handle that seamlessly, I think says a lot about him and his character.
Yeah, Eli off the field, it was remarkable. And I remember when he came in as a puppy, and all this drama about Eli coming in, and he didn't want to play for the San Diego Chargers.
Started off with drama, right?
Yeah, and it's like, hey, you know what? All right, who's this guy coming in? And you know what? Immediately became one of the guys. Immediately in the locker room said, look, I've got to earn everybody else's trust. And he did it through work. But the on-the-field memories, all right, everybody focused on the Super Bowls, and rightfully so, because that's the hardware. But I think what a lot of people fail to remember is the NFC Championship games. Eli played his butt off. I mean, he balled out. In Green Bay, minus 23 degrees. Everybody's huddled up over there on the heaters trying to stay warm. Eli's like, I got this, boys. He and Plaxico Burress undressed Al Harris in front of his own fans. He'll tell you to this day, they worked me over. And guess what? Brett Favre was over there sniffling. He had a cold. He didn't feel right. Eli didn't care. Didn't faze him at all. He said, let's go, boys. And he played his butt off. And then when you look at the NFC Championship game in 2011 in San Francisco, right? We just saw Aaron Rodgers get run out of that building. Eli put the team on his back. I think he threw the ball 45 times in that game. It was raining. It was nasty. Justin Smith was ragged on him. After the game, he thought he owed Justin Smith money the way he was beating him up. That was the visual that everybody saw of Eli. He's looking out of his ear hole right here. I mean, they had to adjust his jersey, and yet he kept slinging it. He willed them to the Super Bowl with that performance. So the championship games are, to your point, Willie, he stepped up in the biggest moments, the biggest games. He's the only player in NFL history to win 4 postseason games 2 times. People have done it once. He's the only one to have ever done it twice.
And that will all be part of the argument that people make for him with regard to the Hall of Fame. These numbers will also be part of that conversation. As you see here, he ranks 7th in passing yards, 7th in passing touchdowns, 7th in overall starts, 3rd in consecutive starts. He had that streak that was interrupted last season.
One stat that's not on there, Lindsay,
yeah.
Most post-game victory beers.
There are so many stories that Sean O'Hara could tell us here, stories that Tom Coughlin could share also. He says it was an honor and privilege to coach Eli and to go through the wonderful and magnificent moments that he and his teammates provided for all of us. The guys that had the opportunity to play with him know what it's like to be with a guy with as much talent, as much grit, as much determination. Here goes the retirement of a great, great football giant. And maybe it's fitting that they both leave the NFL in the same season. Coughlin no longer with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Darius Slayton, teammate this year, says it was a blessing to get to play alongside and learn from you, GOAT. Enjoy retirement. We'll have lots more on the Eli Manning retirement announcement coming up on NFL Total Access. In the meantime, we've got a game coming up next week, and the Chiefs were prepping for the big game today with their first practice since the AFC Championship. A little bit of a slow pace at practice, getting the game plan installed, and they'll speed things up tomorrow and Friday. Want to get everything in place before they travel Sunday to face the 49ers, a squad they've become much more familiar with in the last couple days.
Obviously, they have a ton of playmakers on the defensive line, linebackers, and secondary, where they have guys that have had experience and they have young guys that are super talented. And so you can see that the young guys have really grown as the years went on, as they've learned from other guys around. And, they're very sound in what they do and the coverages that they play. And so for us, it's about just having to execute at a high level and knowing it's going to be a great challenge on every single play.
Well, I think they're well coached. I think they're a real good football team, and they're solid on both sides of the ball and special teams. So, but that's what you get when you're the last 2 teams going. I mean, that's what you expect. And we're in it for the challenge, and this is a great challenge. And that's why we do what we do.
An exciting time for Kansas City, where Jeffrey Chidilla is with the Chiefs.
Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes is excited for his first Super Bowl, but he's also taking care of business first. The first order of business, taking care of the family. He's already gotten his plane fare taken care of for his family, his hotel reservations, and the game tickets. Now he can focus on the football game itself. And in fact, Mahomes talked about the fact that he's going to study a lot of different quarterbacks as he prepares for the Super Bowl, including Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. It's no secret that Mahomes has been using his legs this postseason to make big plays in games. In fact, he's already had 2 games with over 50 yards rushing in this postseason. He likes how Jackson uses his legs to extend plays, and he wants to bring that into his game against the 49ers. Now, one other bit of news today, wide receiver Demarcus Robinson did not practice because of an illness.
Interesting you mentioned Jackson there, one of 3 quarterbacks to have defeated San Francisco this year. One of a few mobile quarterbacks, though, that have given them trouble. As you see here, though, they haven't had a single quarterback give them a hard time in the playoffs so far. The Niners' defense, so good in the regular season. It's gotten even better in the postseason. The best defense in the playoffs across the board. Just 15 points allowed on average. But can they do that to the Chiefs, who are averaging 43 points a game in the postseason, Willie?
That's a lot. Yeah, and it's a different quarterback. You're facing a quarterback that can move the pocket and strike down the field accurately. And I told you early on in the season, if you wanted success, you had to move the pocket against the 49ers defense. Well, we know now, predominantly zone defense, they do mix it up a little bit. But if you get in that against Pat Mahomes and what he does as far as moving the pocket and throwing the ball down the field and Andy Reid dialing up the plays, you're going to be in trouble. So here's Reynolds. Here's Goff. They're moving the pocket, and they're moving guys within the zone. Now, 49ers, they do a great job at moving guys. You got a high, a low, and a guy up top. They find the Reynolds, gives them the ball. Here's Lamar Jackson. Here's the option read. He's going to draw up the defenders, and then he's going to open up that space in the back. Watch Andrews get down the seam, down the middle of this defense, because you know where guys are going to be. But off of that run action, it opens up a large part of the real estate. Good play right there. Pat Mahomes can do that, okay? And then here you go. You got Ryan and you got Julio lined up in the slot. He's just going to run directly in the seam. He knows where the soft spot is. These guys are veterans. They've been working long enough together. They understand where you're going to be in certain zones, whether it's 3 deep or whether it's too high. And then here's Cook. Here's the movement. Andy Reid loves this with his tight ends. You get him coming across, he's going to go over there. Everybody's looking at Michael Thomas. It's going to give a one-on-one. Once guys sit and plant in their zone, it's going to open up space on the back end. So I understand that this is a really good defense, and they're fast, they're aggressive. They got 4 guys up front. But if you stay in that zone, Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes are going to find ways to pick it apart.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes does such a great job of buying time with his legs. We've seen him do it throughout this postseason. He's already done it throughout his career. And I'm with you. And I think, look, if you're the 49ers, you can't afford to go man. If they go man, they're dead in the water. So they're going to play zone all day long. But here's the thing. I go back to week 3 last year, right? The Chiefs and the 49ers played each other. Yeah, there's some different players on the field, but it's the same scheme. And guess what? Patrick Mahomes ate them up. He had 314 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that man right there took over the game. Travis Kelce had 8 catches for 114 yards. And listen, the 49ers said, we're not going to let you beat us deep. So they're going to play zone. They want to play that shell defense. Don't let anybody get behind you. But Kelce just carved them up in the middle of the field. He sat down in the soft spots, and Mahomes found them. And I think that's where this game is going to be won and lost, is can they find those pockets in the zone defense? Kelce is going to have a big game if they do that, if they try to play zone. And when you look at Patrick Mahomes, he has been better against zone defenses than he has against man. And really, if there's one area where he has had struggles, it's been when teams only rush 4 defenders, all right? Patrick Mahomes has thrown 17 interceptions in the last 2 years. 16 of them have come when defenses only rush 4 guys. So rush less guys, drop a coverage. That's how you beat them.
All of this and the fact that you're saying zone and you're saying man highlights the fact that this is a tough game for Robert Saleh to prepare
Try like Vrabel did. Put 12 guys out there.
San Francisco, by the way, not on the field today. They will go through their first practice tomorrow, and we will have MJ Acosta there for that. Super Bowl prep's the top story in the NFL today. Not the only one, though. The Raiders just announced moments ago at an event in Las Vegas that they are now officially, as you see there, the Las Vegas Raiders. Mark Davis is there, John Gruden, Derek Carr, a number of other players, as you can see up on the stage for this announcement at Allegiant Stadium, just minutes from the Strip. And we'll have more on that in just a bit.
It's got a nickname already, too. Black Hole Sun.
Okay.
Won't you come?
Is that true, or that's a dad joke of you? Okay. Allegiant Stadium and the counters at 1. Allegiant Stadium is one of 2 stadiums that are slated to open next season. The other one is SoFi Stadium, hosting the Chargers and Rams in Inglewood, California. You see it frequently. People do from above as people fly into LAX. It was seen today from the ground level inside a stadium tour of the facility that they say is 85% completed and set to open on time in July. Coaching news out of Jacksonville. Jay Gruden is the new offensive coordinator for the Jaguars. The former Redskins head coach officially hired today and now charged with figuring out what to do with that offense, specifically at the quarterback position, where they have Nick Foles and Gardner Minshew both under contract for next season. Another coach whose future we now know, Mike Pettin in Green Bay. According to our Mike Garafolo, he will be back as the Packers defensive coordinator after a rough end to the season. 60 points allowed by his defense in 2 playoff games and 285 rushing yards allowed to the Niners.